Hey, you're watching Vinyl 4 Miles, your best resource for music, audio, gear, and vinyl reviews. Today we're checking out the RT83 analog turntable and the Ai41 powered bookshelf speakers, both from Fluance. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Michael, this is Vinyl 4 Miles. What we do here is audio gear, guitar gear, vinyl reviews, pretty much anything having to do with music or my hobbies, I'm gonna bring you content. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and give me a subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Today, we have the opportunity to check out some awesome gear from Fluance. We have the RT83 analog turntable and the Ai41 powered bookshelf speakers. If you're not familiar with Fluance, they have a full breadth of offerings when it comes to audio gear, anything ranging from your turntables all the way to hi-fi speakers. So what we're looking at specifically turntable-wise is the RT83. Now Fluance has a full line of turntables going from the RT80 all the way up to the RT85. What you get with the 80 and the 81 is a built-in phono preamp. So if you're looking to get a quick setup that's cheap and you don't want to have a separate phono preamp, the 81 is probably a great turntable for you to look at. It also comes with the 1895E cartridge. Now, if you want to get outside of the range of entry level, the 82 through the 85 have some great offerings. The main difference being the platter changes and the cartridges change. Each one of these turntables do come with a rubber slip mat, which is excellent. It's my favorite choice. So your cartridge range is basically gonna go from the Ortofon OM10 to the 2M red to the 2M blue. And with the 85, you have a choice of doing the blue, or you can do the MP110 stylus. So it's kind of up to you when you get into the higher range of their turntable offerings of which cartridge you wanna select. The cool thing is these cartridges come pre-assembled. You don't have to do any wiring. All you have to do is stick the adapter on the tone arm and they come pre-aligned. So you just stick it on, screw it in, and then you're ready to start playing. So why don't we dive into the features and specifications of the RT83. Then we're gonna dive into the features and specifications of these awesome powered bookshelf speakers that pair perfectly with this setup. All right, so let's go over some of the details with the RT83. Why don't we start from the ground up? Starting at the bottom, it may be kind of hard to see on your screen because it's a little hidden, but they do have these awesome isolation feet. There's 3 of them and they're fully adjustable and they are audiophile grade. You never know what the surface is gonna be or if the floor in your house is level, so having that adjustment is awesome. Speaking of those adjustments, it does come with this little level. So you do have a level that you could stick on the turntable and see where it's at. Moving above the feet, we have this multi-layered MDF plinth. So this is using a mix of MDF material and solid wood to comprise the plinth. And the plinth is pretty thick. This is about 3 inches thick. Now this does a great job of dampening the vibration and does a great job of separating and isolating the motor on the chassis itself. We do get a Fluance badge here. It looks like it's in aluminum. And the color that I do have here is piano gloss black. So this does come in a few colors. It comes in black, white, walnut, and a bamboo color. The bamboo actually looks super cool, but the greatest thing about all of these plinths is that if you're using the walnut or the bamboo, it's actual wood veneer. So it's not gonna be a print that's like laminated on there. It's an actual wood that they're using on the turntable itself to give it that high-end appearance. So moving up beyond the plinth, we have our speed selection here. So the middle is off, we get 33 and we also get 45. And that brings us to the actual platter itself. Now this comes with an aluminum platter, the higher end one. So if you get the 84 or the 85, those come with acrylic platters, but you could purchase it yourself. I think it's for 110 or 120. We have my all-time favorite slip mat, which is rubber. Rubber does a great job of further dampening vibrations and it does not conduct static electricity. There is a Fluance logo on the felt mat as well, just in case you're wondering what brand your turntable is. You do get this spindle in the middle, and this spindle sticks up a little farther than my other turntable, which is great. So if you need help aligning your record, it's gonna stick up a little bit. This gives you room to use a weight. You wanna use a weight on top of the record, or if you have one of those levels that stick on top of the spindle, this gives you lots of room. Moving on from the platter, you do see this little rubber belt here that goes to your turntable motor. Now this is an isolated motor and it is ultra quiet. My other turntable I primarily use is a direct drive turntable. There's some residual sound that you're gonna hear with direct drive motors, but my LP5 is actually really quiet. Now this is dead silent. You're not gonna hear any noise if you're on a quiet section of your record. So props to Fluance for the motor that they have in here. It's reliable, I checked the speed. Everything was just absolutely great when it came to the motor itself. This is something that will last you years and you don't really have to worry about tinkering with. unless something happens with your belt, and they sell replacement belts online. Moving over to the left-hand side, let's talk about the tone arm assembly, the cartridge, and the stylus that you get on here. So the tone arm assembly itself is using stainless steel bearings, so the operation of the tone arm is extremely smooth. Most of the components on here are aluminum. We do have this awesome S-shaped tone arm. Again, it's in matte black aluminum. And on the inside, we do have copper wires, which are audiophile grade wires. So if you're wondering what type of components are being used inside the tone arm, it is top notch. Moving up to the head shell, we do have a Fluance head shell. So it's matte black with a kind of glossy Fluance logo. And pre-attached to that head shell, we have a Ortofon 2M red cartridge and a 2M red stylus. 2M red is literally what I'm using on my LP5. I've been using it for over 5 years. Hands down is my favorite cartridge. I upgraded from a few other Audio-Technica cartridges, and I just actually haven't looked back since using it. It sounds great for classical music, hard rock, metal, pretty much everything. It's a very well-rounded cartridge. I do want to eventually upgrade to the 2M blue. However, the price difference between the 2M blue and the red is pretty big, so I might wait on that a little while. Now, there is some really cool features on this specific turntable that have to do with the tone arm and prolonging the life of your cartridge and stylus. When the record goes to the middle, there is an auto off function, which is great. It's not an auto return, but what it's gonna do is after 30 seconds of playing inside the loop here, it's gonna automatically shut off the turntable and stop the platter from spinning. Let me show you. So it's in the middle now, you just gotta give it a few seconds and then it should turn off the turntable. And again, it doesn't work with all types of inner grooves, so some records it might not work on, but let's go ahead and watch and see what happens. There we go. So this is really nice. It actually turns the turntable off for you. Again, it doesn't auto return your arm or anything like that, but all you have to do is just do the tone arm lift and bring your tone arm back to the resting position. Now, when this switch is on, it also turns off the auto spin. So your records are not gonna start spinning no matter what speed you choose on here until you actually position the tone arm over the record, then it'll start spinning. This is gonna prolong the life of your cartridge, and it's a great feature that I wish every single turntable had. So moving beyond this, we have this awesome dust cover. The dust cover has no branding on it, and it is a tinted dust cover, so it's kind of like a lighter gray. The only thing I'm gonna say is everything is black on here. It's all glass black. So I've only had this for about a week. I've been listening, I've been putting my hours in on it, but it collects dust like crazy. So if you live in a house that has a high volume of dust, make sure you keep this down. But the gloss black, it shows fingerprints and it shows dust really easily. So the walnut and the bamboo will not. So if you get those two, you should be good. And I believe the white really won't show most of this either. But anything with a high gloss surface, just keep that in mind. So now we're gonna go ahead and check out the features on the back of this turntable. Okay, so here we have the back of the turntable. Now, just a reminder, there is no phono preamp with this turntable. So it's very clean on the back, and you're gonna have to get yourself a phono preamp. But we do have our RCA ins, and they're female connections, so you can use whatever high-grade cables you want. The good news is these do come with very high-grade RCA cables. They're very thick, and you really don't have to worry about it or change them unless you want to. I'm using my Project ones here because it has an attached ground, which is a very helpful thing. But the turntable does come with a ground, but it's not connected to the RCA cables. So we have our RCA in, we have our ground wire here, and then literally we just have an auto stop on or off. Now, when it comes to the bottom of the turntable, I don't want to flip this one over. There's really nothing much at the bottom. It's a solid piece of wood on the end of the plinth, and then you just have a cover where the motor is. There's really nothing to write home about. There's no exposed wires. There's nothing really exposed at all on the bottom. All right, so the next thing I want to cover is this nice little box here. This is the PA10 Phono Preamp. Not much to it, nothing on the front except for the word Fluance and an LED indicator. On the back, you do get a ground, you have your input and your output, and you can choose with a 20 Hertz filter, and that's pretty much it. So you're not really gonna have a whole lot of options with this Phono Preamp, but it functions, it's simplistic, and it works great. The other cool thing too is it matches the speakers that I have here. So the top wood veneer is pretty much exactly the same as the speakers. So now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Ai41 powered bookshelf speakers. Let's go. All right, so here is the powered bookshelf speaker. It is the Ai41, and you're getting a lot for how much the speaker costs. This speaker is $249, and it gives you 3 separate inputs. You can do Bluetooth, you can do RCA in, or you can do optical in. The speaker also has an output for your subwoofer. So if you want to integrate this into your TV setup, into your home entertainment system, you can. It gives you lots of options. Or if you want to use this as a standalone 2.1 system, you can with the addition of the subwoofer. So starting from the top down, we do get a 1-inch silk tweeter. If you do have kids, make sure they do not touch that. That will break if you touch it. Below that, we do have a 5-inch driver. It is a composite fiberglass driver, and it does have the rubber surrounds on it. That's going to assist with actually driving these speakers pretty hard and having maximum flexibility for that driver to actually pump out your music. Now, this is a Class D amp, and it is 90 watts, which is a lot more than you typically get with a powered bookshelf speaker. When it comes to the dimensions of the speaker, it's not super small, but it's not super big. You got about 10.5 inches in height, about 6.5 inches in width, and then about 7.5 in depth. So this will pretty much fit any application. I have it on a speaker stand, so it's not on the same surface as my turntable. It's not causing any kind of resonance or issues or distortion, but it's a very easy to use, insanely good sounding speaker for $249. Now you also get a remote. This was my favorite part of this speaker. I am constantly, with my powered speakers, depending on what setup I have, constantly having to reach my hand behind the back to turn it on and turn it off, or if I want to change my input. What's cool about this remote, let's go over some of the features. You do have an on and off right here, so I can turn the speaker off, turns red. I can turn the speaker on, turns green. Green means I'm on the analog input. You can also change your input with this button here. Looks like a little arrow. So I change to white. That's going to be optical in. Change it to blue, Bluetooth, and green is your RCA in. There's another little button here. It's like a half circle. It's half white, half black. That controls how bright your LED is. So I could turn off the LED if I want, or I can put it at max brightness, or I can stick it right in the middle where I'd like to have it. That way, if you're in a dark room listening to music and you have mood lighting or something like that, and the LED's hurting your eyes, you could just turn it off. We also get an EQ curve on here. It's only a 2-band EQ, you get treble and bass, but that does a lot. When I turned the bass up, this thing was thumping. I almost thought I had a subwoofer attached to it, but I did not. The treble gives you some really crisp highs, so it's really up to you to set the EQ once you start listening. Okay, so now I flip the speaker around so you can see kind of the controls on the back. What we have here is on the far left-hand side, it's a Bluetooth reset. So if you want to clear your connections, you press and hold that down. We have our optical input, our RCA input, and then there is a sub out. So if you do have a subwoofer, a powered subwoofer, you can connect that here. You do have these gold like screw type connectors or banana clip connectors on the speaker out. That goes to the left speaker. We have our power, and then there's also a power switch here. So if you don't want to use the remote on this, you can manually turn it on and off here. This is the right speaker, and I know it is on the left side. I only did that for filming purposes so you guys could see the speaker that has the controls on the back within the viewport while I'm filming the video. That basically handles all the technical specifications on the gear, so why don't we go ahead and hear how this sounds. So I've always struggled with conveying the audio quality to the audience when it comes to doing these reviews because you can't really hear what I hear in the room. All you're hearing is the audio going into the microphone on here, going into my editing program, so basically compressed twice before you actually get to hear it, depending on your connection. But I am going to play it for you just so you can hear the audio quality and how loud it gets. So why don't we start off with the Bluetooth connection. What's impressive about the Bluetooth on this speaker is it's stereo Bluetooth. So like 90% of the Bluetooth speakers you buy online usually are a single unit and usually not stereo. It's what you call like a compressed stereo signal. So it takes the left and the right and kind of puts it in a vertical format. So this is actually full stereo separation. So to change it to Bluetooth, we're going to go to the blue icon here. All right, that noise, little dum dum, little drum noise means that it is now connected to my phone. So why don't we go ahead and play a track? I'm going to go into Tidal and play a master quality track. So this gets pretty loud. Turning the bass all the way up. And press the mute button. So that's what it sounds like with Bluetooth. It sounds excellent. It is the latest version of Bluetooth, and you do get that stereo separation, and the EQ actually does a lot. Even though it's a 2-band EQ, pressing up and down on this, it actually does a lot to the soundscape that you're listening to. Why don't we go ahead and listen to a record now? So we're going to go to the analog input, which is green. I'm going to turn the turntable on. Small to medium-sized room should have no problem listening to this. If you're in a larger room, you can upgrade to the Ai41s, I believe they are. They have a little more power on them and should have a wider spread when it comes to how far they can project. But for medium-sized rooms, this is more than enough volume to fill the room. If you add a subwoofer too, it's going to add even more bottom end and will fill out the resonant bass even more in that room. So I had zero issues with the turntable and speakers and the Phono Preamp having any distortion, crystal clear audio signal. I'm extremely impressed with this. So now that we've gone through the features, you kind of heard what it sounds like. Why don't we go to my final thoughts? So what are my final thoughts when it comes to this turntable setup? Well, Fluance is offering the biggest bang I've ever seen for your buck when it comes to entry-level audiophile grade turntables. The 83 by itself is perfect. Honestly, for my type of listening, I probably wouldn't really upgrade anything. If I wanted to, I can get the acrylic platter and I can get the 2M blue and bring this up to the 85 specs. That's a great option for people wanting to get their feet wet in the audiophile grade territory, but don't want to quite dive in all the way. This gives you time and you can upgrade at your leisure. Now the PA10 Phono Preamp, I was very surprised at how well this Phono Preamp functioned for only $99. The clarity and the power and the punch that you get from this is just unbeatable. I've tried Project's Phono Preamp and it's comparable to theirs, but it's actually cheaper. Now when it comes to these speakers, I was blown away by the quality of these speakers. I've used a lot of powered bookshelf speakers. I've used a lot of powered reference monitors. I've done all kinds of mixing and mastering with my career. And using something like this, it's only $249, I was skeptical. However, the power's there, the punch is there, the clarity's there. You get a remote with it, so you don't have to stick your hand behind the speaker every time you want to turn it off or change the channel. It is just absolutely worth the money. $249 is a no-brainer. Hands down the biggest bang for your buck for a setup that you can get. I was honestly really impressed. If you guys have been watching my channel, you see me review a lot of gear. I've reviewed a lot of mid to high level turntables and a lot of entry level turntables too. And I can tell you right now for $349, this is a deal you don't want to miss. I hope this review was helpful to you guys. If you liked it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. If you use Fluance, if you use their turntables, let me know your thoughts. If you'd like to check out some of my other turntable reviews, I have some of those up here. I did a great one on the Audio-Technica LP5, which is my other turntable that I use in my listening room. That might actually be replaced by this coming here pretty soon. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'm Michael, and until next time, this is Vinyl for Miles.